What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Extreme Lifestyle Living. I'm your host, Trey, and then today we got lovely, one of my best boys, Jordan Forbes, in here. Been waiting to get him in here for a long time. How you doing, brother?
Oh, man. Good. It's nice to be here.
Fucking right. It's been taking a long time to get you here. But nonetheless, you're here now, and that's all that fucking matters in the studio of the house.
Absolutely.
So for the people listening and eventually watching, who is Jordan Forbes?
Well, not much to me. I was born and raised in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. And I'm actually like 3 houses down from where I live now.
That's
so
fucking sick.
not much to me, but yeah, I grew up and played tons of sports as growing up, and now I'm a personal trainer I work for myself, and I work for Blended Athletics, which is fantastic, and I'm also a corporate wellness coach, so that's part of what I do, and I'm sure we'll talk about that as we get into it, but yeah, it's just a little snippet of me.
Bingo bango. So how long have you been into the fitness industry? How long have you been in here?
Like, how long have I been a personal trainer?
Well, I'd say fitness in general, you know what I mean? Like, what's fitness mean to you? Like, you know what I mean? There's Jordan Forbes, like you said, I know you shot yourself in the foot a little bit saying, no one's special, but like Jordan Forbes is here, right? And it's like, how does fitness come into your life? Like, obviously we'll talk about sports and the personal training and all this stuff, but like fitness, like what's the first thing that comes to your mind? You know what I mean? How does fitness start in your life?
Oh man, well, I started like working out. I started fitness. I played sports since I was like 3 years old. I started playing baseball.
Fuck, yeah.
Played a little bit of soccer. I think I quit that within the year.
We all played soccer.
But,
I've even played soccer.
Yeah.
It's not great.
Played soccer. Not a huge fan of soccer, but I played baseball, and baseball was my main sport for 20 years. And when I got to about like 15 years old, I started playing like higher level. Well, I guess like 12, 13, I started playing higher level. And then I was on the Canada Games core team. And when we were on the core team, they gave us all these like programs to do and follow. And that's when we started like weightlifting and things like that. And all I knew is there was like work to do. So I'd show up and
let's get it done.
Yeah. And but that's when I realized I love working out, and like this is something that I'm going to do more than just for baseball. And like along the lines, like we'd have like I'd see the appearance results, and
yes, yeah.
A big thing would be like even like people would like look at me different. And that's obviously a driving factor too.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Because I remember like I don't think I reached 5 feet tall until like grade 10
Ooh.
or 11. Ooh. So like in grade 10 or 11, I think I was 100 pounds, 110 pounds when I started.
Grade 10?
Yeah, man, I was thin.
Damn, bro. I was, it's funny because like in the episode of me talking about like my starting, like mine was, I remember I was 4'11" in grade 7. And I remember everyone else was like 5'2", 5'3", and I remember the thing was 5'10", I was 4'10" or something. Yeah. And I just remember being like, man, but you'd be like, for that's free. And I mean, I think I was a little bit bigger than that by grade 10. Goddamn, put it that way.
I wouldn't grow up now. I've been parents who are like, look at me, they're like, man, is he
got a problem?
This might be it. So, okay.
Yeah.
But
so 110 pounds, grade 10. So you're about 14 years old. 13, 14, 15.
I think I was 15. No, 14. It doesn't matter.
Between 14 to 16. But regardless of being a male, 110 pounds starting. I want to put that closer to you because I panic.
Yeah.
So just bring it closer. So you can move it.
Bingo.
Yeah, just move it a little bit closer. But
easy.
No, like just like how did that play on your mindset? You know what I mean? Like you're still in grade 10. Because I last episode I just posted was literally about like my mindset going into grade 10 and like talking about how I personally felt inferior as fuck just because I was like smaller and shorter and all that stuff. So like
tons of insecurities.
Yeah. Tons
of insecurities about like not just like taller, but like people are bigger and people are like starting to develop a lot faster than I was. And I was like, am I going to develop? Am I going to get there? Something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
And that played a lot on like the mental too. So when I started working out as I was 15 for Canada Games, I know like I'd start working out with friends and I'd see their results and I'd see my results. And I'm like, man, I got a lot of work to do. Mm-hmm. So like I started working out a lot, and like I grew up going to like the Dartmouth YMCA.
Mm-hmm.
So like I
felt one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Shadowed Ache with the campus.
Yeah, man. Like 15 years I was part of that place.
Yeah. You worked there and everything, eh?
Yeah, I worked there.
That's a big part of your family.
And I started there. Like I did like day camps.
Yeah.
I ran like kids programs and stuff like that. And I was part of the kids programs when I was.
It's crazy you're saying all that too, because like thinking about it now, based on a lot of our conversations, like obviously off screen and stuff, because like, we talk all the time. It's like realizing like, because it's funny. One of the questions obviously is how do you go from sports and athletics and into into like more of like the gym aesthetics, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because like everything you're saying, it's like everything seems more evident of why you're doing what you're doing currently. You know what I mean? Because it's like doing the YMCA like day camps with people, like and running other programs and stuff with the kids and like just people in general. Like that's more of a testament of Jordan Forbes
Right.
himself. You know what I mean? But besides like the sports, besides the gym, besides the personal training, besides the blended and all that stuff. So it just goes. It's like a testament of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just like, like fitness is fine, learning about you. It's like just community, camaraderie. Like, you know what I mean? That seems like that's a huge attribute of like, like what you bring. You know what I mean? Because like already, because this is like what you said. You're just so you start 3 or 4 years old. You kind of get into sports, and then you never not leave sports. But then it wasn't until you're 13, 14 getting into like programming and like seeing actual programs. Because before it was like you did warm ups and trainings for your games.
You show up and you play the games, right?
Yeah.
Coaches like say go warm up. You go run around for a bit.
Run around. Just get your heart rate up.
Right. Basically get your heart rate up. And then like as like I grew older, I started playing a lot more competitive baseball, and like warm ups got like specific, right? Like pitchers would go do their thing,
more intention.
Infielders would do their thing, outfielders do their thing, more intention, right? It's like that started making sense. And then like with the Canada games, like we did all our testing, and then like they'd cut from the core team to like the regular team. I ended up getting cut. That's fine, no biggie.
Oh, man. That's part of the story.
But I remember like getting cut like drove me a lot. Like I'm gonna do better. I want to work a lot harder. So like
how much of that did you attest to? Did you let bleed into your insecurities?
A lot.
You know what I mean?
A lot, because I was always like working my hardest to like make that team. And if I get cut, like I would think it's because like I'm just
too
fucking small. I need to grow. Like what can I do? I can't like go to the gym and grow.
Yeah.
Like height wise, I need to grow out wise. But so I started like working really hard, but I didn't really know what I was doing. Right. And then once I figured out what I needed to like specify, then things sort of started to change. But again, like I was an athlete going to the gym. So like I knew if I showed up and worked hard, I'd get results.
100%.
But I would show up and like put 110% in every time.
Yeah.
But like, so I was kind of burning myself out. So kind of as time went on and I started separating like athletic training and aesthetic training.
Yeah.
And then like I found my way to put them together. And then I found my way into putting nutrition to that, and then kind of found like.
So what point is this? How old are you when this is happening? Where you're finally like, okay, like you're going to the gym, you're sitting back and looking at it, you're like, all right, just got cut from the baseball team or like the Canada games team, like just from the tryouts and stuff. And it's like, obviously that started that journey of, I fucking need to figure this shit out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
like
it's like,
grow.
Yeah. So how old were you when that happened, when you got cut?
I was 15.
So then, okay. And then you said you got your nutrition down, aesthetics down, you got the sports aspect down. How old were you when you felt confident with that aspect of it as well?
19.
Okay. So how was
19.
So how was that journey from like 15 years old or 14 years old being like, all right, like, cause obviously like everyone's young, naive, and like, I'm going to make it to the MLB.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm going to make it as far as we can get it. And then it's there, you're sitting there, you're like, all right. So how does that transition work?
Oh man. Like from like athletic to just being in the gym.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Cause from 15 is you have a chip on your shoulder. You're like, fuck everyone.
Well, yeah. Well, from 15 to like 18, 19, I just like show up to the gym, like work out with friends, whether it's bench press or deadlift day or squat day, like whatever it was. We would just know like what day it was and just go from there. And then we'd always finish with like some kind of arm stuff because I wanted my arms to grow.
Oh, fuck everybody. Oh, yeah.
It took me long enough to figure out that I needed to eat along with that. So like years would go by. And then like I put on like a little bit of progress. Mm-hmm. And then like when I was 17, I think grade like 11 and 12 is when like I started to put on a little bit of size. And that's when I started to notice people noticing me.
Okay, so like it was kind of like a double whammy. Like you were working out before, I guess, like puberty is high strung for you, because that's how what happened to me. Like I was already working out, and then I hit puberty as I was working out.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah, and then so like along the lines of I grew a little bit, and then I started growing out in size a little bit.
Yeah.
And again, like that little bit of size, like you started to get a little more confident. Yeah. You started feeling a little better, and again, people treat you a little bit differently. And then, but like the real jump into realizing like there's a difference in between like just showing up and like lifting heavy weight, putting in work.
100%.
Like that changed when I was 19, because I remember this is like when I started hitting all these new PRs and everything like that. And I played for like Dartmouth Junior AAA team.
Yeah.
And I remember being on the bench one game, and like I think the day before I had a new deadlift PR. So somebody on the bench was like talking to me like, "Oh, I saw your video of like you deadlift like 420 or something." I was like, "Oh yeah," I was feeling like my chest was puffed out. I felt pretty good. And my coach turns around and says, "Yeah, maybe you should stop lifting so heavy and run a little bit." And I was like, "Shit." So like that's when I started like studying my programming a little bit more and like what am I doing? So like, don't get me wrong, I still lift a heavy weight. I still want to do all that stuff, but I started incorporating like cross training and like sport specific training to help me with baseball.
More intention behind
what I was doing, and I realized like when I like went down that rabbit hole, I was like, wow, there's a lot more to it than I thought. And then, but yeah, that's how I did my switch over. And
so let's talk about like the grind you went through, because you make it seem like it was easy. You know what I mean? Like, just like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, started off like, because again, like you start looking into it for personally, but you're a successful personal trainer now. You own your own gym.
Right.
You can train your clients out of your own gym. You have a partnership. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. More of a partnership that you have your own gym, but you can also work with them blended. And usually that's unheard of, having to like being able to balance the two.
Well, that's fair. Well, I still work for blended.
Yeah, 100%.
But it's more of like almost like a 70-30 kind of thing, or even the 60-40, I guess. But the whole reason I went to blended was because like they gave me the opportunities that I didn't think was even possible. Because like working for a corporation, like
Corporate
was like, it's very one-sided. You can do this and you can do this only.
Yeah.
But like when like I started transitioning over, like every question I had, I'm like, what if I want to leave? They're like, well, then you leave. Like if I'm not happy, like what are my clients? I'm like, well, you bring your clients. Right. So, and then everywhere along the way, but like with media and like marketing and like they had everything to help me build the best of me as a person.
Yeah.
Build whatever I want. And if I have ideas, I can go in with all my ideas.
Your creative flows were allowed to be talked about.
Yeah. So like, and don't get me wrong, like some get shut down because like 100%. They get it. Sometimes you got to get humbled out. Like that's not possible.
Some ideas are shitty ideas. You know,
guys, some ideas, Jordan, like that's not going to work, but maybe try this way.
Yeah.
And right. So that's why I went there. So my transition into working for myself and work for blended, I think was like 10 months. Just because it was such it was a long time getting.
Yeah, because you have to,
because with contracts and
all kinds of other shit. And that's one thing that sucks about the corporate world, is that you're just like so binded within so many like loopholes and shit. And it's just, that's one thing I don't like about it. That's why I like smaller, not smaller companies, but just like, well, there's more autonomy.
Yeah.
More camaraderie, because that's what incorporated companies, they lie to you about. Like, come in, we're family. And it's like, oh, you guys are like the shitty uncles and aunts that I'm like, I don't want to hang with you guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that was my favorite part about blended, is like, I love
Shadow blended.
Yeah. I loved the Dartmouth YMCA. Like I grew up with the Dartmouth YMCA. When I started working out there, I knew everybody that worked out there. You'd go to the gym, you'd say hey to everybody, you'd know people by name.
Kind of like when we met.
Exactly like when we met, right? So like, and that's why that's exactly what I saw in blended, right? And so like making the transition there was easy.
Yeah. So for people that are watching and listening, because it's like, it's a fucking perfect flow in transition with everything, but I don't want to skip past the part of the fucking real grind. Like, it's like, it was a grind getting out of a corporate company, coming up with a game plan, figuring out the contracts, legality, making sure everyone's good, making sure you're good, make sure you don't get fucked financially, especially all this stuff happening between COVID. But like 14 years old. 15 years old.
Yeah, we jumped pretty quick.
No, I fucking love it. But the big thing about you, like Jordan Forbes, is what I like to separate with that aspect of it, is that you wanted to be a carpenter. You know what I mean? Like you were working at other jobs, like 12, 14 hours days. You were like, not like, because the reason why I want to talk about it is because like, it's one thing to talk about insecurities about being a young child, hitting puberty late, and then trying to prosper above and be like, who the fuck is it? What am I supposed to look like as a man? Like, what do you know what I mean? Like what? Like everyone's out there got full goatees and beards. And like, I don't even got one hair under my armpit. What's going on here? So the reason why I'm saying that is because like, that's one big testament of who you are as a person, is to say, fuck, like, you know, get cut from the team, be like, man, like, and let that chip on your shoulder bleed into prospering above and becoming a successful PT, owning all your own stuff and being a blended. But the other aspect of that is, you never took a dime from nobody. You never took a handle from nobody. You still Like, you went through adversities with relationships. You went through adversities with moving out, dealing with shit by yourself, working 12, 14 hours days, losing sleep, still doing courses, carpentry, you know what I mean? So I don't want that to be mixed, because that's the real foundation of the mentality of why you can go to blend it and be like, nah, like, I want to have an open conversation about what I want plus what you guys want, because this is what I plan on doing. Because we got confidence now. You know what I mean? We got confidence. We got our own shit. We're not having a conversation with people within a room that ultimately doesn't matter, like we were doing previously at these other jobs. Now it's these conversations hold real weight. Things are really moving. And like you're saying, like the problem now is that we now are throwing out our bad ideas because we're so used to throwing out, we actually can talk now.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? So it's like, but back it up a little bit, because when I met you, this was before this all happened.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I remember when I met you, you weren't even a PT. You were working carpentry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, for the people listening and stuff, because it's honestly, it's a motivational fucking story, because you were working 12, 14-hour days. You're getting like less than 6 hours of sleep, 4 hours of sleep a night for months on end before you became a PT. You know what I mean? So like, obviously in your own words and stuff, but like sum that up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like the whole transition, because you're not a lazy person. You know what I mean? Like on top of, because the one thing I want to distinguish is, because it's one thing having mental adversities and physical adversities and not going to and wanting to go to the gym and change your life that way. But a lot of people do that and post on Instagram, post on social media, and they're funding their lives through the family's pockets.
Right.
And you know what I mean? There's a lot of kids that want to be like, they hit puberty late, and I'm not shitting on their stories. It's not, but it's like, there's like, I have a couple friends and people, you know, like we can talk about, like, it's people, they get a lot of credit for their success and adversities with their, like, their physical and stuff, which is great. But I'm like, they had comfy homes.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like, they had people, their parents paid for their schooling. They knew what they kind of had their stuff laid out for them. And I'm not shitting on those type of people, but I'm saying, like, on top of that, you had to dig through some shit to get to where you're going. You know what I mean? It wasn't like everything outside of the physical aspect in the gym and sports was good. And then you just were like, yeah, I want to do this. You know what I mean? Because there's some people out there that are very successful trainers and coaches because they just had to make that one switch and get their self-confident physically. And then the rest of it was taking care of it. You know what I mean? But yours, that wasn't your situation. And that's why I want to talk about it, because you earned everything. It's not like you just, you know what I mean? Where it's like, yeah, you know, everything was good at home. Like, no, you went from, like, your first job, like, was, I think your first job was at 14, wasn't it?
My first job was, I think when I was 13, I assisted helping, like those day camps.
Yeah.
Like when I was a kid, I helped my sister doing those.
Yeah. So yeah, talk about that story about how you go from like assisting 13-year-old. Because around the time of your work ethic, getting into jobs and stuff, like you were going to like doing everything outside of it. I want to talk about. You know what I'm talking about.
But before I even started carpentry, I was a cook.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I mean. We got to talk about like how to like these transitions, because it's motivating as fuck. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I had this. So I used to think if you worked hard, like you're gonna get a return on investment.
Yeah.
What I didn't realize was like working hard versus working a lot. It's a big difference.
Yeah.
Like right now, I can work really hard for like 2 hours in the morning, and I know like at 4 o'clock I can get off, eat food, make dinner, and chill out for the night.
Yeah.
I used to just work a lot. So I'd work, I was a cook, and I remember I'd go to work for like 7 a.m. I'd work till like 3 or 4 p.m. I'd get off. I'd go like deal with a few things in between, and then I'd go to my second job and I'd be a cleaner.
Right.
And I'd go to these buildings in Burnside, and I'd clean till, I don't know, like in between 10 and 11 o'clock at night. And then sometimes I'd get off and go to the gym, because like still need to go to the gym.
Yeah.
And then I drive back to Halifax and go to sleep. I wake up at 5 a.m. the next day and do it again. And I thought it was great because it was Monday to Friday and I had weekends off. So I'd take my weekends to like get prepared again.
Yeah. Rest, relax,
and then go do it again. I quickly realized that like working almost minimum wage jobs, no matter how much you work, you're stuck.
Yeah. You're in a rat race.
Yeah. So luckily I realized as a guard, I need to go back to school and like figure something else out.
Yeah.
This is not going to do it. And that's when I started carpentry.
Cool. Yeah. How old were you when you decided that?
I was 20. Because that's when I became PT too. When I started, like I did carpentry when I was a kid, like with my father. Growing up.
Yeah.
Like I'd work with him a little bit. I'd work with some family members a little bit and like just help them with side jobs. But I always knew it was something I was like decent at.
Yeah.
And then so like, I was like, I can make some money at this.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do carpentry. So I went to school for carpentry. I got my loans and stuff. And when I started that, I got another job at a group home.
Isaiah House. Shout out Isaiah House.
Isaiah House. And I'm still there currently. I work there 1 day a week.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to give up. But
Fucking love that place.
I remember, and this is where I got back to working a lot again.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'd go to school.
Oh, right. You were, yeah.
And I'd go to Isaiah House. And then like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months into school, I remember I got offered a job as a PT because Good Life was looking for more PTs. And I was like what I got to do.
Yeah.
And like, if you take this week course and you take this exam, you can train people, like do your thing. I was like, you mean I can get paid to teach people to work out?
Yeah.
Like that's the coolest shit ever.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, is this real?
Like, don't get me wrong. Like I've always helped people like with programming and stuff, but like,
Yeah.
I was never certified.
Yeah.
So like once I had like the option or the opportunity to actually do so, I was like, oh, that's cool. Plus I get to go to school and do this. And this is a little side gig.
Yeah.
I figured I'd have a few clients.
Right. I remember you were doing the PT on the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're doing both.
So I'd get up. So like what an average.
Yeah. I remember, bro. I remember it now. Oh, I hit the mic. I remember it now. I remember seeing you, you'd like, sometimes you'd come in with your carpenter shit and then you'd change, do your shit and go back out and do your carpentry stuff.
Well, like an average day. So like when I worked at the group home,
yeah,
I can like, there's the night awake and the night sleep. A lot of the times I did the night sleep. So you get to work like 7 till 11, do the chores, like all that jazz, you know that.
Yep.
And then you go down from 11 till sleep and just wake up the next day and go about your business.
Yeah.
So I took that as an opportunity. I was like, that sounds sick. So I can do my homework there. Like at like 11 when I go downstairs, do my homework, wake up the next day. Sometimes I'd leave work like an hour earlier. I'd okay it with everybody.
Yeah.
And I'd go to work and I'd work a couple hours for some clients at Good Life. And then I'd leave Good Life and go to school till I think like in between 1 and 3.
Yeah.
I'd leave school, have a quick bite to eat, go back to Good Life.
Yeah.
Train another couple clients, usually until 7, right up till 7. I'd bust down to Isaiah House and I'd work another night shift. So I'd work like 3 to 4 night shifts a week.
Yeah.
Along with my PT hours and along with going to school. Yeah. And then there was a 5-week portion where like you have to do co-op. So
yeah, that's what I remember about the most about, because that's when you had the belt.
Yeah.
The belt. So with the tools and shit.
Yeah. So that's when it got pretty tough. But like, again, it was like working a lot. I got a little more return on investment at the time.
Yeah.
But, so I'd work a carpentry job. I'd leave that. I'd go to Good Life for a few hours to work the clients that I could and then go right to Isaiah House. I wouldn't work Isaiah House every single night, but a lot of nights I took a lot of shifts because I was like, I have a lot of debt to pay.
Yeah.
I got to get out of this hole.
Yeah. The one thing too that was dope about Isaiah House too and working at the Penhorn was the rate there.
It was like 3 minutes, the 3-minute drive, if that.
I feel like honestly with the traffic, you could almost run there faster than you could.
You could hop through the side, like the
tree
behind through the trees.
Yeah.
And just hop a fence and you're there.
Yeah.
Right. So like that was cool. And like, that's what like everything was in my little bubble. That was good. But somewhere along the line, I realized like, I don't want to do carpentry. It's really hard on the body. Like my dad did it for his whole life and he's an amazing carpenter. He does amazing work. But like I saw and I see what it like does to his body. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. I was like, I want to stay in the gym and I'm a personal trainer.
Shout out to people that actually stay and do it and stuff. You know what I mean? Cause
it's a hard job. It's a hard job. And the people that do it, like they do good at it, man. Like it's
my brother jokes to me all the time.
It's underappreciated. It really is. And like,
I don't even hang pictures, man. I'm fucking like labor stuff, man. I can't do it. Yeah. That picture's not up there. You see it just because I'm gonna call my brother. I'm literally gonna call my brother to put that up.
No, I'm telling you, like the work that you see that gets done, like it looks like some people are like, oh, you just put a few boards together. That is not the case. Yeah, like and like a lot of people don't understand.
And that's why I like to take time to put the emphasis on that, because what I've learned over the last 4 to 5 years is with these labor jobs, because I've watched my brother go from the schooling, the plumbing, and getting like the apprenticeship hours, and then like all of it. And it's like anyone that shits on that stuff is just fucking uneducated as hell.
Yeah,
like,
they just don't know what it's like, the behind the scenes stuff.
No, not
it's
at all.
A lot of work, man. And so when I made my decision, I was like, all right, I'm not going to be a carpenter. And I want to be a personal trainer. That was like one of the toughest decisions. I knew exactly that I wanted to do it, but I drew out the process and I was like scared to do that full pace and fail.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
But I did face it head on. I know I had a lot of people I guess naysayers
Yeah.
at the time. And so like that's what made me like even more nervous.
And that's coming
making
into
these
this stuff with that
decisions.
chip on your shoulder too.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like it's crazy because like everyone knows it's gonna listen for the most part that like we're already like we're close as fuck as well.
Of course.
But it's like still learning, like talking through this process right now, learning a lot about that aspect of it because it's like yeah we chill and hang out, but it's more relaxing, vibing. It's not like we like sit there and make an emphasis to talk about stuff like this. You know what I mean? So it's like even me learning. Like I'm like that's why I love having the podcast too because anyone that put on it, I have so much more respect by the end of it because it's like I learned so much about individuals because it's like it's just so easy to paint society with certain ways and just view yourself internally and think certain things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, I'm not saying I think certain things, but my insecurities will make me feel one way. But then hearing you talk about like me, for example, my last episode I just posted was me talking about my insecurities, feeling inferior as a man and coming up as being younger. Yeah. And then my same situation that I'm on my knees crying about, you had 3 years later than I did.
Right.
And it's like, and then it's funny because saying that is just like, who the fuck am I? Like, oh, I'm over there thinking I'm in the doom's corner, you know what I mean? Thinking shit because I'm like, no one even knows what I'm talking about, you know what I mean? And like, I know we've had similar conversations where I was aware of that, but like to actually have like, I'm in the right head mind space having these conversations, you're in the right head space having that conversation. It's just like, and stuff like that is like, it just peels that layer back and it's like, I learn more about you, but I also even learn more about myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly why I want to go back into all that shit. That was
absolutely.
But yeah, so you had your game plan. You had some naysayers.
Yeah, and I almost didn't do it. I'm really glad I did do it.
Do you have that like moment that you remember of that was like, nah, I'm going for it?
Yeah, it's gonna sound bad, but
not at all.
I remember I was out to dinner with my ex at the time, and her mom and her sister, and I remember I said like the opportunity that I had and what I think I wanted to do, thinking that they were like, oh yeah, like do what you love, like go for it.
Go for it.
And like the looks I got, I remember my heart left and like just down in my stomach. And I was like, oh man. And I remember like they asked me like, well, what are you going to do like when you're older? And well, I'm not just going to train people one-on-one for my whole life. It's like, I want to grow in this industry.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, no, that's like a bad decision. Like you should do carpentry. Like you should, like you're already doing carpentry. You should stay with that. And like, I remember like I felt so little.
Didn't give a fuck.
Yeah. And I remember driving home. I was like, yeah, you know, maybe they're right. Like maybe I shouldn't do this. But by the time, like, and this is me driving by myself, by the time I left there and I got home, I convinced myself, like, no, that's fucking bullshit. I'm going to do what I want. And like, cause I mean, you can fail doing something you hate.
Yeah.
Right.
I was fail doing something.
I was like, so if I fail, like I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I remember I did it. Like, and you don't have to do like your dropout papers. Cause I finished like the first year of carpentry.
Yeah.
But like, I remember I even filled the paper out to let them know I'm not coming back just to like secure it for me.
Yeah.
And like, as soon as I made a decision, again, I was scared, but like, I knew that's like, this is what I wanted to do. Right.
It's crazy too to talk about that for a second. Cause it's like the knowing, you know what I mean? Your intuition. You're just like, fuck, like my gut's like, cause you're sitting there at a table with a girl you're dating at the time. And arguably you're going to sit there and hold those opinions high. So, you know what I mean? Like, cause it's like your ex-girlfriend, you're her family. So it's like, you have that, you want their validation. You want their sign, their check to be
people
like.
Always talk about themselves and talk about things like for validation.
Yeah.
Right. And like, you're not always going to get it.
Yeah. 100%.
But you need to know like the only validation that's important is your own.
100%.
However, like along the lines of this whole thing is like the biggest thing that I changed is realizing like what and who is in your life that are negative. And if you can't change it, just distance yourself from it. Right. And if you surround yourself with positive atmospheres, you're going to be much better. You're going to feel much better as a person. So like when I started doing that, like huge changes. And like even like Becky, right? Like, I told Becky about like all my like goals and like my aspirations, like what I want to do. And I remember she sat there and she was excited about it. She's that's great.
Yeah, seriously.
That's great. She would like quiz me and like ask me like how I'm going to do what, like what I'm going to do where. Right. And I remember even telling her family about it. And I was like, oh, that's really cool too. Right. And like, that's when I felt validated.
Yeah.
But again, it's just.
Yeah. But still, like, no, because like, I relate to that too. Because it's like me, like, I think for me personally, I'm one of the like, I mean, you know this for sure. Like I say some shit that people are like, what the fuck, man? Like,
You say shit that I say one of them.
yeah, that's what I mean, right? So it's like for me, like with that, with the validation aspect of it too, it's just like it's so fucking true. And it's like going back to Becky and stuff. It's the when the narrative is not like, what are you doing versus how are you going to do it? That's the world of a difference. And like go back to your friend groups and change your friend groups. And it's like I made a post about this before about like these type of people to get rid of, but your world can literally change from like one extreme to the complete other by having people that change that narrative. You know what I
Have
mean?
people that bring you up, right?
Yeah.
I should say Becky's my girlfriend.
Yeah.
No,
Becky,
I didn't
shout out
say
Becky.
she was. I just said her name. But
But
so surrounding yourself like with positive people and people that support you.
Mhm.
Not saying that like if somebody says like it quizzes you, says like, yeah, but what are you gonna do? No, don't just like get rid of them.
Yeah.
Like listen to why they're asking you questions.
Yeah. It's
right?
constructive criticism you want. You don't want just no's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a big difference in that.
100%.
And so like once I started changing that again, like my circle of people is pretty small.
Oh, bro, 100%.
And I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I'm happy.
So let's talk about that
Right?
for a minute, because like we can relate to that on a like multiple levels. Is talking about. So you're talking about the time where you're like, all right, my gut is telling me full throttle PT.
Yeah.
Like I feel the best about this, and at that moment, everybody in your corner, like for the most part, was like, no, that's not a good idea.
Yeah.
And it's like, so talk about how your mind got calloused over, because you didn't start dating Becky until probably like 4 years later. 3 years later?
No, probably a year and a half.
Oh, really? Was that short?
Yeah, it wasn't a long time.
See how I get mixed up with your career with how long I've known you. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So let's say, but what I mean by that is like how did because then you meet Becky, and then you say the same snippet from your ex-girlfriend's family to Becky's family, and the narrative's different. It goes from because you're like 19, 20 when you're telling your ex-girlfriend's family like, hey, like this is my plan, and they're immediately going to retirement. They're like, how are you going to retire? And it's like, whoa, like you guys are asking like, where are you guys
Wait
thinking?
a minute,
Like what the fuck is on your guys' brain? You know what I mean? Like this is like you guys are drilling me with these questions. Like you're asking, what kind of question is that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then you say the same script and same conversation to Becky and her family, and the question isn't like it's not like left field questions. It's like, all right, how are you gonna do this? This is dope as fuck. You love what you want.
Yeah.
And then you're sitting there like, I get to talk. You know what I mean? So like, let's talk about how because like again, we're gonna get into it in a second, but like callousing your mind, like gaining that confidence and know like, hey, like now I know what I want, because that's ultimately what led into the Jungle Barbell Club.
Yeah.
Blended. You know what I mean? That same gut check that like, because now it's not even non-negotiable.
Yeah.
You wake up and you're like, nah, like I know what I need today.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it was like it's just different, like how I held myself. Right. Like mentally, I'd look elsewhere for like happiness and like support.
So would you say that was when you started looking internally?
Yeah. Yeah. And I would start like reading. I started reading a lot more. I started reading a lot of mental health books.
Yeah.
And then like, and I still read a lot of like mental health books, and people call them self-help books, I guess.
Yeah.
But again, it's not just help me, it's help like how I help others. Again, we'll get into that later. But like one of the biggest things was like, if I can't be happy with myself, then how can I be happy with anybody else?
It's real.
Right? Or how can I expect happiness from anybody else? Same thing with respect, same thing with loyalty, everything. Right? So it's like came with me and like finding me.
Yeah.
Right? I know it sounds like cliche, I guess.
No,
but,
no,
like,
but that's why I
when
love
you find yourself. It's a true thing. Right?
I'm preaching that all the time, man.
Right? So it's a big thing. And once that started happening and I started being happy with myself, I started carrying myself with more confidence. And I was okay. Like, I know what I'm doing. This is what I wanted.
And you knew your intentions were right. You know what I mean? Like, because like going back, like not saying you didn't know your intentions were right, but it's like building confidence. Like even as a trainer, we could talk about like when we have clients and we talking to them, it's like you get your first few clients and talking about nutrition. It's like, oh, I hope they fucking follow that, because it's like if they don't, they're going to tell me I'm wrong. Yeah. But then like now, like you got your own club, your own, like you're working for Blended and stuff like that, where it's like the point now, it's like, you know, if you prescribe something, like if it doesn't work, it's like most of the time it's because you didn't follow it. But the reason why I'm saying that is
executed.
Yeah, exactly. The reason why I'm saying that is because it's the same premise of like finding yourself and like having the confidence in yourself. Because like if you don't respect yourself, you're not going to respect others.
No,
you don't love yourself, you're not going to love others.
No, and you can't expect it from anybody else. If you can't respect yourself, you can't expect respect from anyone else.
Yeah, no, that's at her brain too.
That broke my brain.
My head hurts.
But that's like, and that's again, that's like one of the truest things, right? So I started walking with a lot more confidence, and I believed in myself a lot more, and that's when things started changing.
100%.
Right. And instead of like saying like the why me things, like why did this happen?
Yeah.
Why did this happen? It's like, all right, what do I got to do?
Turn your cursings into blessings.
Yeah. Right. Like, what do I do to change this situation? How can this situation get better? Like, who do I need to involve? Or who do I need to involve? Or who do I need to
get rid of?
Distance from, right?
Yeah.
Like I hate using the word like cut off or anything because I didn't cut anybody off. I just
No, I use that. I use
right?
That's why I come and I cut off everybody. Fuck, man.
Because again, I didn't cut anybody off, and if anybody came back into my life, like I wouldn't be like, no, fuck you, right?
No, I don't think I don't know. I probably cut. I definitely cut people off. Yeah, but yeah.
No, but like I always knew I like wanted to help people and I want to change people, and this is how I can do it.
Yeah,
and like what I'd like to do is obviously do it on a bigger scale, and like that's what we're working towards.
So talk about that whole situation, because now you're sitting like, because a lot changed over the last year on this whole topic. You know what I mean? You go from like ex-girlfriend to finding Becky, and like changing everything. You change the whole narrative. So now you're full-time working within a corporated gym, commercial gym. I mean, Good Life for what it is. Who cares if we talk about it? But like, how long before you started Good Life, before you were like, all right, like when was the time you knew that training? Because again, you guess like when I started at Good Life, I thought it was the bee's knees. You know what I mean? It's your first job. You think like your first concrete job. You throw the whole kitchen sink at it. When did you know that you wanted to do more than what? Again, I'm not going to say shit on the company, but when did you know that it was you wanting more out of the quality of what was being done versus playing the game? You know what I mean?
Probably when COVID started. We first shut down, and
I can't help but laugh. Like the COVID exposed everybody. COVID exposed everybody.
And I knew, like, I don't know, like a short time into training, I knew like this, I wasn't going to be working for Good Life forever. So I knew like there's a time that's come, like you got to get out and do this on a bigger scale, or like do this differently. But COVID was what probably really pushed it, because like I remember I was home sitting in our old apartment, and like I'm trying to like keep my clients up, like trying to give them home workouts, and like a lot of times like I don't want to work at home, like there's nothing to do. And I think we were all on like
Suze or something.
Suze or whatever
Canadian
that was.
Something wage subsidizer.
Yeah. And I remember one client was like, look, I'll pay you, like just meet me at the field and we'll do something. So we went to the field.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is an open opportunity. So I started getting all my clients to go to the field. All right. And I got like a TRX strap and like the basic equipment to use. And we started going to the field.
Just making shit up. Just trying to make it work.
Just trying to make it work. Because again, my goal was to make sure my clients are still going. And when COVID's done, or when we go back to work, I still have clients.
And this is a big part too for anyone listening. And when they watch eventually, is like, this is when you really start to soar.
Yeah.
Like this is when you really start to like, who the fuck is Jordan? Because it's like you're going before every conversation and narrative was going against the grain, going against the grain. But this is going against life. You're going against like, and what I mean by that is like, Good Life, I don't know if it is now, but was the 4th biggest fitness chain in the world at one point. Like 4th biggest. Yeah. It was like one of the biggest ones in the world. So for anyone that's insecure, that wants to like, oh, I wish I could be a PT one day, or I hope I lose this weight. Like people like, hear us talk so loosely about certain things. Like I want anyone listening to be like this is where you start to decide you deserve bigger than what these places can offer. This is where you really start to gain, like, because how many other trainers, and again, like everyone has their stories, but how many other people took that as an opportunity to not help their clients? How many people took?
I have no idea.
But that's what I'm saying, because like I was in management at that point, so I do know. You know, I was in that part where it was like we were tracking who was keeping up with who and stuff like that, because with the service calls and shit. So it's like that's when that's when it wasn't go to Good Life and get a trainer. Let's recommend Jordan. That was like, you're going to talk to Jordan. Where's Jordan?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why I just had the emphasis about that, because that's when it was like, that's what sets you apart. I don't know if you knew that. I know you knew that before, but even hearing the double side is better, because what is it? It's only, COVID has only been, it's almost a year and a half? Going 2 years?
Man, it's been like,
fuck, 2 years, bro.
Yeah, it's like almost.
It's 2 years this month. Damn.
If it was.
Is it 2 years already?
Or it might even be 3. I don't know. It's been
not 3. There's no way it's been 3.
No, it hasn't been 3.
Regardless, it's 2 years, and let's just talk. But like, look at all the shit that's changed.
Right, and that was the first shutdown.
Yeah,
and then we had a second shutdown, and that was like November, December-ish.
Yeah, the first one was like, March to like July, June.
There was like snow on the ground. So, and it was freezing outside. So a lot of the days, again, I'd be like joining my clients to the field and they're like, it's cold. And I'm like, well, you still going to make it? Well, I guess.
I'm here.
Gloves on. Let's go. And I remember I'd get my workout in after training like 4 or 5 clients at the field. And like Jake would show up and we would do like some barbell complex. Cause at this time, I bought a barbell and I got like, I don't know, it's like 200 pounds.
And this was, were you at the new place yet?
No.
Yeah, you're still, cause this, you had it all in the truck.
I had it all in the truck.
Yeah. Okay, because I remember.
Oh my god!
Because we went camping and we did some other things and shit, and we just pulled out the back and did some.
So every day I'd get up, like maybe do a little workout at home, and then load the 200 pounds of weights down to my truck, load the barbells in my truck, drive to the field, train a couple clients, work out, and go back home, like do whatever else there was to do.
Yeah,
and then go do it again the next day.
Yeah.
And it was freezing cold. But and I remember like me and Jake joke about it all the time now that we have like my gym now. We're like, hey, remember when it was the grind negative 30 outside and we're trying to work out with a barbell?
But that's when Jake was going to runs and shit outside too, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I was running too, but I wasn't running to his capacity.
Yeah, because he went nuts with it. But I remember you guys were both doing some crazy shit.
Yeah.
Like, man.
So yeah. So like that went down, and then in between the 2 shutdowns is when like I made my decision and I found out that we were going to move into the place that we're in now.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. I remember that.
I was like, okay, so I can start building. I can start saving money to put some money into that gym. And then I remember writing goals down, and like I had a goal within like by like July that time to get like my floor covered for the mats. And by July I actually had everything in there.
Mm-hmm.
Just because
grinding.
Like that's how things went. Yeah. Right. So
it was a big testament. You wrote it down and it became 10 times bigger than it was.
Like, and write everything down. It comes out. If you don't write, I find if I don't write it down, it's probably not going to happen.
That's why I have thousands sticky notes over there.
Same thing as my Google calendar. It's like if I don't put it in the calendar, it's probably not going to happen.
It's true, man.
Everything in that calendar.
Going back to the cheesy quotes and stuff, like you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail.
That's the biggest one.
You can't walk aimlessly.
That's the biggest one. So in between the 2 shutdowns, is when like Jason Davis reached out to me.
You good.
It's when Jason Davis reached out to me and we chatted about blended and like making the switch. And like at first I was like, well, no, I want to do my own thing. Mm-hmm. And then like I saw the opportunity, like blended had the offer, like, and they were even like, if you don't like it here, like we'll help you transition to your own place. Like do whatever you want. We want you to be happy. And I was like, that doesn't like persuade me to go that way.
100%.
That's great.
Cause that's like, it's perfect.
Yeah. And like I have the freedom to like have my clients come to my place, and like that's great now that I have a dog. Like I work the mornings and my afternoon clients come there because my dog is in the garage. It's pretty cool.
Which is fucking perfect.
But yeah, and then we had the 3rd shutdown, which actually I thought was going to make things a lot easier. It made things a lot
because it postponed
harder.
Everything.
It postponed everything. And if contracts like weren't a thing, it would have made it a lot easier.
Yeah, but your contracts got extended.
Yeah, and the way things went, and so it made it a lot harder. So like the running joke at Blended now is how long it took me.
It's like you took too long, bitch.
to go
too long. You suck.
But it was but it showed me who they were, like with their patience and like with their leadership on like what do you need what do you need from us, like for help. And like again, I tried to like take no help because I wanted to do everything myself. And anyways, finally we did it and we got out.
Easy transition.
Yeah, and it was that was the transition.
So like that's just a big fucking thing to like stop and like have appreciation for, though. You know what I mean? Because people, if you know, when it comes to trying to get it out, like get out your current situation, like when people are when you're trying to get out of those, I'm saying like if you have a 6-month plan, the first 3 months is praying that it's gonna work. It's gonna like you're praying you're gonna see something different. Like there's so many days over like this challenge of you getting out of the corporate culture, getting your own thing. Like there's so many days of not 1 ounce of progress. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, cause the dates with the contracts, they're there. There's nothing you can do about it.
They're
so
you can't change shit.
But to go from literally, and I'm gonna say it for what it is, cause like, I'll get shit on, you won't, but is, you're a corporate slave. You're a corporate slave for a bigger reason. That's not the real reason why you think you signed up. And that's just what it is for every corporate culture, in my opinion. I'll say it that way. And that goes that goes to TD, it goes to the banks, it goes to all of them have the similarities that they make you feel like you're bigger than you are, but then push comes to shove, COVID exposed, You know what I mean? I had people that were like trying to be insurances, work at the insurance departments in some of the banks.
Right.
And they gave them $1,200, $1,500 worth of fucking computer equipment to do everything at home, denied them their job, and they didn't even have the audacity to ask for their equipment back. Because like they you know what I mean? Like it's just like they don't even give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like the corporate thing. So the reason why I'm saying that and teeing it up that way is because within 6 months to 8 months, getting rid of the fucking COVID closures and stuff, you had all your clients in your own gym, all your clients in Blended, and literally, and I joke with this with Emma all the time because none of that. Every day you woke up with that stress, gone. Yeah, all of it's fucking gone.
Oh man, it's a huge change. Huge change. I remember like certain days I'd get up for work and I'd be stressed about so many things that could happen. Not like with my clients because I loved my clients.
That's what I'm saying though. Like 80 to 90% of that that negativity and the systematic conditioning that you had to be part of. Because you had to be, it was all just passing the buck so the CEOs and the top guys knew what was going on.
Yeah.
You didn't matter. You were just a mule.
They're just a number.
That's what I mean, right? So now going back to Jason, like shout out Jason for like reaching out and like creating that relationship because he's seen something in you that, and this is what the beauty of finding the right people to be in your corner because Jason's seen you and arguably he's a hardworking man, obviously from what I've understood.
Once Jason got me in, that's when I sat down with Dave and Dave's the CEO. He runs it. Yeah. And
runs Blended.
Yeah. He runs the world.
He runs the world.
No, he runs Blended. And like, again, he sat down and like, he showed me like all the opportunity. And I was like, I don't know how you could say no to that.
100%.
Right. It's like, that was pretty great.
And what happens next?
So that's when the process began. And the whole process was 9 months. But again, I won't get in like the good life stuff, good life contract stuff. But as this process was going, I know I still had my doubts. I did still have my doubts and I was still worried about like, is this the right decision? Should I go on my own? Should I stay with Good Life? Like, is this like, am I throwing away like something? Yeah. So it always second guess myself. Like I'm a and you know this, I'm a textbook overthinker, right?
Yep. That's why like for like people that do know that we're good friends, like that's why we end up doing well together. When I overthink, you help me like, bro, what are you doing? And the same thing, vice versa. For whatever reason, we balance each other out that way. Yeah. It's hilarious.
And that's perfect. And I remember, I'd still like Jason or Dave, like they'd reach out once every couple of weeks and say, hey, how's everything going? Like, is there anything we can do? And like, let's set up a meeting. I'd go in and talk to them for like a half hour. And every time I left there, I was like, yeah, this is why I'm doing it. This is why I'm doing it. And then like another couple weeks go by, I'm like, oh, I'd start second guessing myself again. And the same thing would happen. I go in and then like, even sometimes in between, I know I think I even had a conversation with you once.
Yep. Yeah. I remember that. Cause I remember that vividly.
Yeah. I just have conversations with Becky. I'm like, look, is this the right thing? Becky's like, look, you've been working towards this like this long. And like, honestly, big shout out to Becky too, because like she supported me along the whole way of this, like the ups and the downs and like
they take it all,
the struggles, and like she was there for support. Like plus she's in school right now, so that's a lot on her plate, right?
100%.
So
shout out to the women.
It's like that was big, and like even having that support. And I know like you should support yourself, but like having that like someone to help your second.
You can't do it alone. Like no matter what it is. Like I think I was actually talking about that the other day. Like it does not matter. That does not matter who you think you are. You're not Superman or Wonder Woman. You need, and that's actually why me and you actually became real fucking close, because that's something you were the one to tell me. Because you'd always be like, bro, like, what are you trying to, like, what the fuck is your problem?
Yeah.
Like, what? And you're like, why are you trying to do it all alone?
Yeah.
He like, because I remember you'd be like, bro, you can talk to me. And I remember, because that was the first 2 years of our relationship, I didn't say shit. Like, no one knew nothing about me, like, at all. Like, it was just like, I was just a good person to be around, you know, I was like uplifting and stuff, but personally, didn't know fuck all.
No.
You know what I mean? So, like, no, 100%, like, but continue, though.
What was that?
No, I was just talking about the support.
No, you were talking about support.
Yeah, support. Because
he supported me through this whole process. Like that was big. And like I had everybody's support at Blended. And every time you walk through those doors, everybody would like ask like how things are going.
Yeah.
And like there's like no negativity in it. And just like I said a little while ago, like surround yourself with positive environments. Like this was the environment that I wanted to be in. And like every day since I finally made the switch over, hasn't been one regret.
Literally.
All right. No. Yeah.
It's fucking sick. So let's talk about like how beneficial your situation is now compared to what it was before. Because there's so many layers of this conversation, which is fucking sick. You know what I mean? You talk about being 120 pounds at grade 10 and like that, like, and like The reason why I love bringing that up every time is because like I don't want to sit there and get too political with it, but no one like men's mental health, like that's so detrimental to your mental health that no one talks about. Like I don't hear people talking about it. You know what I mean? Like my whole podcast episode before this one was me talking about how inferior I felt as a man based on literally my physical size.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, it's the end all be all feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then for you to be such a big voice of positivity for not just like, cause it's like, well, you'll talk about it here in a second, you'll test to it, but it's like, you're way out of good life now. There's none of that shit anymore.
Right.
You're past the first quarter of doing everything yourself alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like this year is the first year where it's like, you look back, you're not looking at like the narrative's changed. It's not looking back being like, hey, what do I need to change to get to where I want to go?
Mm-hmm.
The narrative is just, where do I want to go?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just like, there's so many layers of positivity and learning and growth and adversities that it's just sick, because it's like, you think you're going to win the lottery by getting out of carpentry and loving your life and finding your passion for training.
Right.
And then it's like, you find blended.
Mm-hmm.
And they lay out all these opportunities to be like, hey, you know, you can have your cake and eat it too, right? And you're like,
yeah,
is that allowed? You know what I mean? Like, I can do both of these things.
Well, like that was the process. I remember when I finally went in, sat with Dave, and I would say like, well, what if this? What if I want to do this?
Mm-hmm.
What if I wanted to take it this way? And never once did he come back at me like, well, you can't do that.
Yeah,
I'm not going to allow that.
Mm-hmm.
He would quiz me and like be like, what? Well, why would you want to do this? Or like any like, right? But it's like, that's what made the difference. Is like I had all the opportunities to do whatever I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm sitting here with like all these opportunities. Like now I need to focus on like one thing.
Well, yeah, before we started recording, that's what our conversation was. It's like, we need to learn how to relax now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like, it's just like, before it'd be like, we have so many things we got to get out of, but now we're just like, every day we get to do what we fucking love. It's like, less than 2 years ago, this was just a pigment of our imagination. Like literally less than 2 years ago, we were like, just in the rough drafts of making these plans to be able to live 24 hours a day as free as you can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, going back to what we said earlier about like just switching the groups of people, like how drastically your life changes in a positive way just by having two guys that understand the position that they're in,
mm-hmm.
and letting you know that your opportunities within the position that they're in, for no negativity of their own, besides like the positivity you're spreading for the community.
Right.
Like, bro, like, it's just fucking always gets me all fucking riled up, because it goes back to the same, well, it does, man. It goes back to the same conversation where it's like, the cure to cancer is in the fucking poor man's brain. You know what I mean? Like, you're in good life, fucking slaving your ass off, deserving so much more, but 80% of society thinks you're doing it right. And you think you're fucking doing it right.
Yeah.
But then you're being conditioned every day to believe that you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
And then literally one conversation with Jason and, was it Dave?
Dave, yeah.
Dave. And they're like, bro, like, what are you fucking talking about? Like, bro, do this and do this here.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, whatever. And then after 3 months of doing both, like your own gym and the blended now, you're like, I can't even believe how positive my life is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's still challenged like every day, but it gives me something else to work towards every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's just, again, like we talked about earlier, just narrowing it down to one thing, focusing on that one thing. Yeah. And then
not getting like, now I genuinely feel like my issue now with my life is I get so fucking excited. I'm like a dog trying to chase his tail, but then I'm like chasing 400 things. Yeah. Yeah. And then I come back and I'm like, I'll always come back to Emma. I'm like, I don't know what I need to do right now. I feel like what's wrong. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong. I'm overwhelmed. I feel like my head's on fire, and I haven't done anything for the last 3 days. But really, I've done more things in the last 3 days. I've just opened up 400 tabs in my brain. Yeah. And now I need to hard reset my brain.
Pick one of those tabs
and just
what are you gonna do with it?
So let's talk about like how drastically, in a positive fucking way, and I want you to be arrogant with this. I really do. Because you got to be arrogant with it. Not arrogant. You know what I mean? Be very confident. Be so confident people are like, fuck, this guy's arrogant. But the reason why I'm saying that is like, how much better do your clients, I don't even know how to fucking ask that question, but
how much better
how much better is your overall business? You know what I mean? Because it's like, how much of your training was stuck in systematic conditioning? And I'm saying that on a reason, because like you're stuck in a system, in an algorithm, like, you know what I mean? But now, full autonomy, like you got your own fucking sweater on. Still waiting for mine too, you asshole. But you got your own sweater on, you know what I mean? So you're repping you. Yeah. You know what I mean? And you go to blend it, you're still repping, you're happy to rep blend it.
Absolutely.
And you're happy to rep your own stuff. So it's like, how much better is everything?
Oh, man. Like, it's like you're operating at 10% and you're thinking it's your 100%. and then finding your 100% and realizing that's your 100%.
Oh, that's fucking beautiful.
Right.
Like seriously.
But the big thing for me was like with clientele was whether like we'd be in blended and they would say like, man, this atmosphere is a lot different. And at first I was like, oh, like this is great. I love it here. Like it's happy here. Like they knew my name at the front desk. Like when I walked in, Johnson was like, oh, like, hey, Steph. And like that's a big deal to people. Right. And so like there was a lot of like the little things that people realized that they weren't getting until they started getting it. Right. And there was a lot more little things that I could do for clients that I couldn't do.
Do you want to talk about some of the little things? I mean, there's nothing really political, but just like, cause that's the thing that like sets you apart. You know what I mean? Is the quality, the detail that you do. Like we'll talk about it in a second, like all the extra mental health stuff you do with your clients, the nutrition coaching.
Well, we'll even talk about like how like clients used to get stuck at like in a corporation. Like you sign a contract and you're in for a year.
Yeah, that's a big one too.
So I remember like new clients start with me. Like they're like a lot of clients are very hesitant to start.
Yeah.
Right. They're very hesitant to start. They look at the price like, man, that's a lot of money. Like, I don't know if I could do that. And then like in a corporation, like once they sign that contract, you're locked in.
Yeah.
Like here is, and don't get me wrong, like everybody who signed with me, they never regretted it. They say, I need to get out of this right now.
Yeah. But it's just that it's just daunting.
But now it's a lot easier when you come in. And I remember the first new client I got at Blended, and she quizzed me. She was like, this all sounds great. She's like, how, like, does the payments work? I was like, well, how do you want it to work? Right. And like, we can pay however you want.
She wasn't prepared for that question.
And she's like, no, she took back. She kind of laughed. And then she's like, well, can I pay biweekly? Okay. You pay monthly? Yeah. Can I pay once a week? Yeah. You pay for one session at a time. You really want to. Yeah. She's like, what if I want to like pay for or sign up for 6 months? She's like, but what if I like hurt myself or like I don't like it or I don't like you? She was very blunt with it. Yeah. And I was like, well, then you stop it and you go on your way. She said, well, right. And I guess easy. Right. Easy. It's that easy. Right. And I mean, don't get me wrong, like clients are still with me now. But it's like a lot more, it's a lot of easy, it's like an easier environment, right, to get into. Like once you sit down and chat, you're like, oh, I remember Dave sat down with me and he's like, because I don't want somebody working for me that's unhappy working for me. He goes, because what's that for the environment?
Yeah,
right.
That's
true. The same thing with training. Like,
and how many times like at other jobs were you asked that question?
Never. So like, that's a big thing. And like, so the little things I can do for clients, like the better. And like, then they see that they matter and they see like that little extra things, they matter. Yeah. Right. So like, that's what I really like about what I can do now.
Cool. Which is fucking sick. And cause like, again, now we're going to go into it now. Like, cause like, again, I like one thing I like to do with anybody on here. Cause like, it's funny. Like I got a theme, everyone on here that I've brought on is like a trainer of some sort, which is dope. But I like to talk about like what sets you apart from everybody else. Because again, like you going into Blended, like he knew. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? He knew that like, it's going back to the quote of the cure to cancer in the poor man's head. Like you go into a different environment, you start flourishing because you just have the tools and resources and opportunities to let you flourish and be who you want to be. So it's like, I know you put a lot of extra work into mental health, a lot more than you promote, a lot more than you talk about and all that aspect of it. So talk about your mental health for your clients and just like that whole fiasco a little bit, because it's impressive and I love it. And so,
well, like that's how I guess that's how I kind of run my business is like, it's not just, you don't just show up and it's reps and sets, right? It's not just programming. It's not just like working on your nutrition. The more I realize like I could get personal with people, like about their personal lives and dig deeper and change them mentally along with their like physicality is huge. So I know I've had many clients with like deep problems, and all I did was like give them tactics from like what I studied and like what I learned about through like to help myself. And like some things worked and some things didn't, but like we'd always work to make something better. And the more I realized that's more what I wanted to jump into. So I think like what people see in trainers is like, oh yeah, they're going to get me fit. Yeah. Or they're going to work on my nutrition, or they're going to give me a program, which that's great. And like, I can do that too. Yeah. But like what I really strive in, or what I really like kind of strive towards is like how am I going to help you mentally? Because everybody has struggles, but everybody struggles very differently.
That's
right?
very true.
Like,
yeah.
A lot of people think like, well, if I get bigger and stronger and I get a bunch of money, I'm going to be happy. But then they get to that point. Why am I still not happy? Right.
Yeah.
So that's a time where like we dig deeper. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Right. So like, that's what I want to work towards. And I learned that when I was at Good Life or when I was in a corporation. Then like, that's what I started portraying on all my clients. Like, that's what I still try to work with now.
Yeah.
So.
And now within blended and all that aspect of it, you have full autonomy to like take as far as you want with this mental health stuff with them as well, which is great.
Yeah.
Because just with COVID and stuff, like this podcast, I started it for mental health. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? So it's like, no, it's just fucking sick because there's so many trainers. And I love how the community is being changed, the narrative is being changed from what you're saying. Like personal trainer, you're going to give me nutrition counseling and I'm going to get shredded or I'm going to get like big or I'm going to get in the best shape of my life. And it's like, going back to what you're saying, it's like, no, like let's fix the root problems. You know what I mean? Let's go in like, why don't you like the way you look? How did this happen? Like, and it's crazy too. Like, talk about how, like, what it means to you, or how it feels for you that when you go in and tell this client, like, because again, like, most of the stuff with training is more of like discipline, accountability, and numbers. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to hit like the RPE for your fucking bench press or squat, that's like you pick the numbers and stuff.
You just follow numbers and that's it. But like, the best feeling I get is like, you get that one-off text from a client and say, hey, listen, like, I feel so much better after I got that off my chest, or like I tried this like meditation tactic, or I attacked my day differently by starting my morning differently, and like now I feel so much better.
How does that feel for you? Like when you know that you've given them like a mental health tactic to like a perspective, or it's just some tool or resource to like look at something differently, and they come back different. How does that feel?
It feels incredible because like I know I was there, and I know like when I was smaller. And like 120 pounds, I was like, I got to get bigger. And I thought like when I started growing, I'd start feeling better. And I did. Yeah. But like there was always that like deeper connection that I was like, why? Like, why am I still not happy? Like, what's still not making me happy? And then I was like, well, maybe if I make more money. And I started making a little more money by working a lot. And I was like, why am I still not happy? Yeah. Right. And then that's when I started digging deeper into myself. And like, then certain things clicked, certain things changed. It's like, oh, that's what I needed to do. Like, this is why now I'm feeling better. And so like, that's what I'll portray, like, again, on like certain clients, like, and again, everybody's going to be different. So it's like different tactics for different people. Yeah. But yeah, when they come back and say like how that changed them, like that's the greatest feeling.
Fuck yeah.
Absolutely.
But, honestly, like that's just an unreal way to fucking tie it all off, because like from the beginning of being 120 pounds in grade 10 to believing in yourself as you started going to the gym for yourself personally,
right?
To go from working your ass off like more often than you needed to realizing, okay, there's a problem with working a lot, to working efficiently and hardworking, to then being like taking out these loans to try something and then getting rid of that to jump into training, and then now to be where you are now is just a huge testament of like I said, that you being the product and who you are as a person.
Right.
But that's just a beautiful fucking way to end off on, because you literally started off 3 years old getting into sports and how you transitioned to it, the YMCA, like I said, carpentry, personal training, being like, and then out of the corporate into your own fucking the jungle barbell club. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's a phenomenal way to end off it. So I just got to ask 3 fucking questions.
Let's hear it.
First question is, what does self-love mean to you?
Oh man. Honestly, just like we talked about earlier, treating myself with the respect that I think that I deserve. And boom, if I don't respect myself, not from anybody else, right?
Boom. No, that's hit the nail on the head. That's just fucking perfect. Number 2 is, what does mental health mean to you?
That's a tough one to dive into. It means so many things, but again, it kind of plays off the last question, just being happy with myself and being happy with what I'm doing, and knowing that like sometimes you're going to fail along the way and that's okay. And like be hard on yourself, but there's limits, right? To be hard on yourself on. Yeah.
Fucking sick, bro.
Yeah.
Best piece of advice that you've ever received in your entire life that sticks to your head?
Oh, and I think about this almost every day, and it's never settle. Boom. That's it. I remember when I was a kid and I was going through like tough relationships, whatever, I know my mom would always say never settle. And I thought it was like for the people in your life. But as I grew, obviously it is for the people in your life, but it's for like never settle for what you believe in.
I think
You
That's
use that with everything.
Well, I'm just like, I think as soon as you say that, the only thing I think about is the conversation earlier in the episode where you said you were excited as fuck to announce you're going to become a PT.
Yeah.
To your ex's family and her, and then they just shut you down.
Yeah.
And then I feel like with that quote just in the back of your head, don't settle.
Yeah.
Within 6-8 months, you're one of the best trainers in the Penhorn, and then within 2 years, you get your own club. So
that's right.
That's fucking sick. And the last one is what was the last one? Oh, last one is what do you want to leave behind after your time? Because now the good thing about our conversation is we're doing everything we love.
Mm-hmm.
So the narrative now is stay structured, stay disciplined, stay accountable. We know we have everything now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a blessing and a cursing because now we're so overwhelmed because like, fuck, we got to always work. But in terms of overwhelming ourselves, we don't relax. So what do you want to leave behind? You know what I mean? Like 50 years from down the road, 100 years down the road, Jordan Forbes, you had the Jungle Barbell Club, you did everything. Because you're everything we're talking about right now is just how you got to where you are now.
Right.
The next episode is going to be about what you actually got going on.
Right.
You know what I mean? We didn't talk about none of this stuff you actually do got going on.
Right.
So what do you want to leave behind for yourself, your kids, and Becky?
I want to say impact, right? I want them to know that I made a difference in something, whether if it was personally, whether if it was people, anybody. Just I want to have an impact on people, and I want that to be left with.
Boom! How big?
As big as it goes, bro.
Yeah, don't just fuck with you.
As it goes, bro.
We'll end right there.